if they're going to keep flipping people at Florida State on signing day, then I will break out the spatula. There it is. There it is. Another 4-star flip for Florida State, this time from the rival Gators. Wide receiver / tight end Tae'shaun Gelsey is now committed to Florida State. Michael Langston, senior recruiting analyst for Warchant.com, Warchant TV, is talking to me right now. Michael, I'm going to put this up on the screen because you take a look at his position, and it says tight end. So what gives there? I know because I've read your articles on warchant.com. It says receiver. Talk to me about this 6'4", 220-pound target and where Florida State likes him.
Yeah, FSU's always like that's kind of the dynamic of the recruitment. Florida wanted him as tight end. Florida State likes him as a receiver. They made that clear, like we want you at receiver, and that's kind of the place that they've circled all along. That and that's kind of what really drew him to FSU was the position, probability of what he could play, and I think he was very excited by it. I think he views himself as a receiver, and FSU views him that way. So we could probably take off the tight end / whatever since it's since he's now a Nole and he's going to be a receiver. So I think overall, just a guy that they really put a lot of heavy time in. Either host him or official visits, and then had him back for the Florida State game, which was kind of weird. You're committed to one school, but you're visiting the school that's trying to get him away from you. Kid from Jacksonville, and a guy that really they probably one of the top guys that they wanted. Even going through all these problems they had with the season, I think really resonated with Coach Norvell and really just connected with kind of their plan of what they want to do with Tay in this offense. And I've spent a lot of time with Corey Bender, probably more than his significant other, whoever he's with, that talks to him. And there was even Corey would tell me, like, even last week or even before the FSU game, that he felt like this likely could end up at FSU. That's what he felt just going into it. But I think overall, really good pickup. Another big body guy, and he got a bunch of giraffes out there now. When you got the guys that are coming in, I mean, some really tall looking guys, and they're probably not done the receiver position, which is it's kind of crazy that we say this, that they don't even have a receivers coach yet. So I mean, it says a lot about one the way they're recruiting it as far as these guys, because that's hard to sell when you don't have your receivers coach in place already. And I think it speaks to the recruiting of Mike, and then also just the other guys that they have on the staff.
So, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I had to pull it up just so I remember all these names because it's been a wild signing day here for Florida State. But Chase Lofton, Mike Norvell said in his press conference wrapping up the day that he was the top target that Florida State had on their board was Chase Lofton, 6'5.5", 213 pounds out of Omaha, Nebraska. He is a tight end. We would keep tight end under his name or if we were doing a video. Notice the bottom of the screen, Michael. So, yeah, but wide receiver in all capital letters for Gelsey. But then along with Gelsey, Jordan Scott out of JUCO, 6'7", 215. Tariq Mallory, 6'5", 185. Javon Boggs, not short at 6 feet at 200 pounds as well. So that's not exactly like one of those burner type body builds of 6 foot 200. And now Gelsey at 6'4", 220. But you can tell here in the highlight film, Michael, that he's lining up outside a lot.
Yeah.
This is another Mike Norvell win, right? Because as you're talking about, without a position coach, you have to go on faith of the vision of the head coach. And I'm sure having Gus Malzahn didn't hurt either in-house as OC.
Yeah, it didn't. And the thing is, I've said this from for a while, when they didn't have a wide receivers coach or an offense coordinator, Mike took the initiative of personally recruiting all the receivers that they were after. So I think he's played there. He understands the position, and that's also an attraction with some of these kids. And I think overall, it's still amazing when you look at it that you don't have a receivers coach to be able to sell the vision on these prospects, because some of them are different. Some of them are just different. They're tall, but some of them do different things, and their strengths are different. But to finish it off with a guy like Tay is I think is a big deal. And the thing I like about a lot of these tall receivers, you go from Magic Mallory to Tay and then somewhat when you watch Jordan Scott is the speed these guys have for being that size. I think they move really well, and I think this is FSU saying, you know what, we're not able to get the separation we want on routes. So if we get the bigger one, hey, we're gonna have a lot of catch radius, and we're gonna offer a lot of problems for a lot of teams that have to match up with this.
Well, it's going to create one heck of a spring camp because if you're a redshirt freshman that is sticking around with Florida State for 2025 and Lewayne McCoy or BJ Gibson or Elijah Moore or Cam Fryer, who was dealing with an injury this year,
Yeah.
you got loads of competition arriving on campus here in short order. I know, Michael, we're entering an era in all likelihood of 105 on the roster instead of just 85.
Right.
But Florida State is clearly telling you that this is a problem that's not going to stand for the long term. We're going to hit this issue with numbers at wide receiver / tight end.
Yeah, and I think that helps the guys like B.J. Gibson and Lewayne McCoy because it's going to open them up. Those are more they can use their speed and they're good in short space, and that will open up their game. Not for all of them, since you can't play everybody, but I think it'll open up for some of them that certainly guys that stand out. And so I think it really just gives the offense more of a dynamic look of a more detailed look of way you can attack teams instead of just I think a lot of the receivers look similar. I mean, Hakeem Williams looks a little different than guys, but most of the receivers, the size wise, they're fairly similar. So to add a strong group of these guys doing that, I think is a big deal for them.
So again, Tae'shaun Gelsey, who was committed to Florida for a little while now, the news broke around 5 o'clock Eastern today that he was not going to be a part of Florida's class. So that's half of the equation. If you were on the the premium recruiting board, the land of Michael Langston, you would have seen a little bit earlier than that this was trending towards Florida State. There was drama going on in state between Florida State and the Florida Gators. I'm going to ask you, Michael, to advance the discussion for one question. This is about the transfer portal.
Okay.
Just your thoughts on where Florida State would go at receiver in the portal. Do you think that they've got enough numbers now, enough help on campus and young players that they would not be tempted to dip into the portal? Or do you think separate issue, this is them building for the long term and they might still go try and find a pass catcher in the portal who might be an upperclassman?
I still think they would want an experienced playmaker because let's call the reality of what it is. They don't have a for sure guy that's leading this receiver corps. So all those guys are coming in. They're young. They certainly will play, but I think you need one or two established, experienced guys to really add into what you do. Now I don't know what that means with the guys that they got from the portal currently, but I think it's pretty clear they need a change of somebody that just can kind of take control and you can lean on and be an experienced guy and kind of help even these younger guys to kind of understand the role of receiver and just maybe that'll motivate them and put them in a good place to help it. But I do think you need some more experience in there just from the pass catchers because that's an issue that we've talked about the offense line. There's several issues with the offense, but another big issue is just don't get separation of routes and you just drops and they've got issues there. So I don't think the issues change of what you have. So I think you still need to you're going to have to address kind of to getting some experienced guys. Now if you had now I do think Destin Hill coming back, I mean that will help them because I feel feel pretty good about what he is, but outside of him, I can't really name a guy that I'm like, okay, I feel good about them as a receiver. So I think you do need to add one or two to really solidify this group and make it more of a strength of your team.
It's going to be a really interesting room to watch. Spring camp, fall camp, everything from Destin Hill all the way down to the newest freshman commit from Florida State and Tae'shaun Gelsey. You mix in the tight end room with Landon Thomas and Amari Williams, who is going to play a little bit on defense, at least in spring. And then you bring in Chase Lofton. My goodness, Michael, this is going to be fun. And we appreciate the time. We appreciate the work. And stay tuned, everybody, here to Warchant TV. Hit the like button underneath the video. Subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. I'm sure we're going to see you very soon on this channel with Michael or somebody else because the news is coming in fast. Thanks, Michael.
You got it.